And then restart share screen. Yesterday, we talked about the intrinsic motivators, the why. The greatest advantage to having a strong internal motivation is that it keeps you going on those days when sometimes the numbers aren't where you want them to be, or the contests and the competition just kind of feel like they're, you know. I used to be very, very competitive until I burned myself out doing it. And a lot of people, as we mature, we get to the point that it's no longer about the competition. It's about just being better than myself.
I like competition.
Some people like the competition. The difficulty with intrinsic motivation is very hard to measure because it's individual to each person. What motivates Doug is not the same as what motivates you. What motivates me is really different from what motivates Marty. So there's not a good way to standardize how we measure it. Coming from public education, this was the problem with standardized tests. Some kids love tests. My wife hated them. Some kids pass the test because it means something to them. A lot of kids, it's not the test that was motivating. It was all the things that aren't tested. You know, art, music, PE, those aren't tested. Well, there are some things that we can test that we're going to go over today, but I wanted to finish up a little bit more about yesterday. We talked about writing your own why. I choose to, in order to, so that, what is your why?
I don't know, but I did get to the part where I asked my friends
Okay.
why they're friends with me. It's kind of funny.
The book Start With Why walks you through how to, or find your why, excuse me, find your why, walks you through that. And it took about 3 weeks for me to get through that book. Okay. When you ask your friends why they're friends with you, how did that go?
It was funny. I'll read it really super fast because I keep keeping up enough time. But
No.
So I just said, okay, I'm doing a theme for class. Since you're my bestie, I have to ask you the question, why are we friends? And she said, because you are the best. You are funny, caring, and we connect really well. We enjoy the same things. We just picked the second we met. And we hate the same people, but you may not want to tell them that.
So
The other bestie said, like, kind of similar. I was just like, okay, fair enough.
the concept that we clicked when we first met.
Yeah.
That's part of what Simon Sinek goes into in that video that's on the slideshow from yesterday. Did y'all get the email with the?
Yes, that's
okay.
I was watching.
Yeah, you notice that's one thing he talks about is part of intrinsic motivation. Sometimes you're right, you will click with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a lot harder to build that rapport.
It's funny because this girl, I had heard stuff about for years and years and years, and I did not want to meet her. I was like, we're not friends. I don't want to hang out with her. My cousin was like, well, she's coming here because she wants to smell the Scentsy bar that you just got. And I was like, I don't want to be friends with that girl. I've heard so much stuff about her. And she came, and the second she walked in, we've been best friends ever since. Like, best friends.
Yeah.
Very good. I don't commit people. Usually like that. I mean, I do, but not like somebody I didn't want to be friends with.
Yeah.
It's weird, but yeah, we're just friends for life.
So that's part of finding your why is what is it about that kind of interaction that you click and you're willing to keep it going.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who we clicked and we can go months and not say anything to each other and call, and we still know we'd have each other's back. I mean, when my car broke down in outside of Evanston, Volkswagen, they didn't know what to do with a Volkswagen in Evanston, by the way.
Yeah.
We had to go up to tow it up, and he had the equipment. And then my Explorer we were driving up there broke down outside of Evanston.
Oh my God.
Blew the thermostat, and he was totally with us okay the whole time.
So you guys messed up earlier? Well, this is now stuff we want to prime real estate expert.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. We're doing key performance indicators. So yesterday was intrinsic motivation, today is extrinsic motivations and setting end goals. So the rest of this week, we're going to be spending on those extrinsic things that we can measure. while you keep working on formulating that and coming to understand what it is on your inside that keeps you going. Because there are going to be days when it's that internal motivation that's going to overcome when you're looking at, here's my goals, here's what I'm trying to do, and I swear I didn't even come close. Okay. And we're also going to talk more about accountability. Yesterday we talked about with Simon Sinek, he talked about having a rival, someone that you can that you recognize your own strengths and weaknesses from watching what they do. And then that rival of his who became, the two of them now work together. They went from rival to almost like an accountability partner. They hold each other to a higher standard because they've seen each other do that. Okay. You were talking earlier about Dwayne and you watch some of the things he does. You're like, someday I'll be like that.
That's what's hard is that there's a fine line between being competitive and comparing yourself, and you should never compare yourself, especially somebody starting out. Comparing themselves to him has definitely not been good for me.
I can watch Craig and days I feel like, oh, he just closed a $5.4 million deal. Did I do 5.4 million in volume last year?
Yeah.
But he has chosen to specialize in a unique market that I don't feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
The young lady who was here yesterday that was visiting with us lives in Wasatch County, and she's looking at, she wants to get involved with the Wasatch and Park City area. Great, go for it. Millionaires scare the crap out of me. Half of them, a bunch of them belong to my wife's family.
Yeah.
I don't have that mentality. I grew up too working class. I don't know what to do with money.
Yeah.
So you'll also find that there's a clientele that you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
And that will become part of your internal life. You'll feel like you're finally getting there after about a year when you can finally start saying, do I really need a client this badly?
I think if I sold, I just have all these people that are so close that it's just, if one of them actually just followed through, then I would be like, hey,
I got this.
But until then, I'm just like, you guys, it's fine. I'm gonna go show a lady houses either today or tomorrow. She's just getting her final approval, so I know exactly how much.
And then that's part of what we'll go through some of those measurable goals is helping clients get through those stages, because then you see the progress they're making and you're progressing as an agent to getting closer to the goal of, okay, now we can really write an offer that will be serious. Or now we can, okay, we've looked at this many homes. Why aren't we writing offers yet? Let's talk about what's going on.
I think that's the thing too, is that
so we're going to use some terms we call KPIs, or key performance indicators. The number one is gross commission income. How much money came into the brokerage? And this is a little bit of a review from the classes, but everybody says, well, wait a minute, how do I figure gross commission income? This is the money that is the gross check, the total amount that comes into the brokerage. Because remember that any offered commission on the buyer agency, it should be on the MLS or the BAC, buyer agent commission, and any commission you receive if you list the property goes to the brokerage first, because that's the primary business. And there are two kinds that come up, and this is very important on the when you're looking at the BAC that's offered, the buyer agent commission. When you're looking on the MLS, it'll either say gross or net, and we figure them differently. Gross is the easiest. You simply take the purchase price and multiply whatever that percentage amount is. Pretty straightforward. Remember, this is just what comes into the brokerage. Okay. There are some offerings that will show that it is a net commission that comes into the brokerage. That's where you take the purchase price and you have to subtract all the concessions, anything toward closing costs, anything on the resolution of due diligence, home warranty, any kind of credits that the seller is providing back to the buyer at the time of closing. Then you multiply that by the commission.
So if we pay for like a home warranty, that does still get split with the brokerage in us? not just us.
Depends on how the commission is structured. If it's a gross commission, you got a $500,000 purchase price, 3% commission. It's really easy. 5 times 3 is 15,000. If you've got a $500,000 purchase price and it's net, and you take $600 out of that 500,000 for the seller paid home warranty, $5,000 for seller paid closing costs. Then you subtract that off the 500,000 before you multiply by the 3%. So does it affect your total income? Yeah, a little bit. But 3% of $600, not much. It does kind of add up if your buyer then is asking for like $10,000 or $20,000 in closing costs. It'll start to add up.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of a left-handed way to try to get buyer agents not to stand up for their client and and say that, the only way we can make this work is this purchase price with the, subtracting some seller credits. I'm not losing that much, but it's kind of a left-handed way to discourage it. Okay. Your commission then is, we take that gross commission amount and multiply it by whatever your split is, and anything else we subtract, you're paying for. On your current plans, the two of you on the 50-50 split, the Amory's fee is already paid for. Absolutely make use of her.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
I'm on the higher split. I'm paying her every time.
Yeah.
And I used to do her job. It's a big part of why I pay her every time.
Yeah.
I know she's going to do it right. Yeah. So there are some adjustments that come that way.
Yeah.
It's up, it's really up to individual agents, especially when they get that Maverick plan, how much they want to pay for it. I've got one right now who he's going in for open heart surgery. He's going to be out 10 weeks before he can leave the house. We've already made arrangements to help cover leads that he's got in the area, but existing ones, he doesn't ever use the Amory fee. I'm like, pay the $400 Amory fee so it's done right, so you can get paid. Because if it's not done right, you don't get paid till it's right.
Yeah. She's just a lot. She's very detail oriented, and
yeah,
especially right now, we don't know anything about all this stuff.
And the nice thing about as you walk through your first transactions, we're going to walk through what all those forms are. Plus, if you ever have questions, you send her a Slack. Amory, what is this thing? Mm-hmm. Plus, she sends you reminders of here's the next step. Title report's been received. Here's a copy, and she has a templated email says you need to review this for your client's sake. Here's some things to look for. Inspection reports, all those kind of things. Okay. The reason we have two different numbers, gross commission income and net commission, or your commission, is that those are two different things that get measured to show your success. One big extrinsic motivator for some of our agents in the past has been every year the Salt Lake Board of Realtors has the Realtor 500. It's the top 500 producing agents out of the nearly 11.
I hear you talking about me.
Yeah. How many times have you been on that list, Craig?
He's never not been on the list.
Well, here's the thing. It's a moving target. Nobody knows from year to year what they have to hit, because if everybody else ahead of you increases their production, you've got to increase them.
Good job, Craig.
Decorations on my wall.
And it's great to be able to put on your email, because people start to see this is someone who knows what they're doing. But it's based on your volume, the total number amount of all the sales of all your homes added up, that volume. That's why if you have new construction or for sale by owners that aren't on the MLS, after it's closed, put them on there. That's the only way that gets recorded. It also lets potential clients, if you say, hey, check out these homes I've sold. They see that. Gross commission income lets you see, how close am I getting to 3% every time? Or, what price points of my homes am I seeing most of my homes at? Am I still going to earn enough at this price point to get where I'm gonna go. So that's this next number we're gonna look at. That's where your agent commission comes in. Also keep in mind that that amount that is the check that comes to you, that's the amount that gets reported to the IRS for your taxes. Because you are a 1099 contractor, you are responsible for paying your taxes. And that's where you want to talk to an accountant, how you set up either as an LLC or an S corp on how your taxes get paid. I started as an LLC because I still had kids at home. I don't have any dependents at home anymore. I was getting killed on self-employment taxes. Switched to an S corp this year. Went from paying quarterly to paying a set amount monthly. And it was working with my accountant, when he looked at the numbers, because last couple of years it's been barely squeak by with the IRS, have to pay the state, or get a little bit back from the IRS, but not enough to cover the state. And it,
Just because of the tax, just because of the things that you can write off.
and doing all the write-offs and everything at the end of the year helps. That's why, you go to your accountant, but just the amount that we're paying during the year to try to avoid a huge bill at the end of the year.
I'm gonna have to do that too after. Hopefully next time.
My first year, I didn't understand how it worked. And I ended up getting hit with a $16,000 bill at the end of the year.
That would be awful.
It was horrible. We had to we had to use our HELOC to cover it. Because we didn't know how much to pay and when to pay. And we'd always been accustomed to being, a W-2 and maximum withholdings, and, I didn't know how any of it worked, and I got burned hard.
Yep.
So keep in mind that agent commission, that net commission that you get is what it be taxed on. So for example, there's a $15,000 gross commission and you're on the 50-50 split. Well, that $7,500 goes to you. Minus whatever the fees are. You're not getting taxed on the 15,000. You're getting taxed on the amount that the check that goes to you. Okay. For a lot of people, that is a motivator. I mean, I gotta keep the lights on. How about you?
Yeah.
And is it the same amount every month? Something to learn. I had one closing and then nothing and then 3 in 2 days. And then sometimes you'll feel like that. I actually had a couple of years ago, I had 4 closings at the same title company on the same day.
Wow.
They walked in, they had that day schedule on the board, and all 4 of them were mine. I'm like, woohoo! And now I am out of business because that's it. Nobody else is under contract right now. You go, crap, I gotta, spread this out.
Yeah.
For my wife, that number is very motivating because she pays the bills. What we want to look at a little bit today is what your GCI and NCI goal needs to be for the year. How much do you need to have in your pocket by the end of the year to meet your goals? Doug, how much do you need to have in your pocket by the end of the year? Just ran out of fingers.
Probably like, let's say 50,000.
All right. So if you need to walk away at the end of the year having received checks for a total of 50,000.
Between now and December?
Yeah. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, let's say 50,000.
Okay. How many closings have we had so far?
0.
Okay. So between now and the end of the year, we've got to get $50,000.
Right.
Okay. You're on the 50-50 split. Makes the math easier. To get that 50,000, you've got to have 100,000 in gross commission income. What gets a little more difficult is trying to figure out about how many homes you need to sell to get to that. Okay, right now the average I pulled up the average, well, and here's what, how I came up with this. I pulled up the MLS last 30 days average sale price. Came out at 626 and some change, so I simplified the math. Okay. The brokerage average is about 2.75% BAC. You're gonna get some threes, you're gonna get some 2.5s, you're gonna get some oddballs in between. And the ones that drive me the most nuts are when you have the brokerage that offers something like 1.9%. Come on, make the math easy for me here. You know,
Yeah.
so average is 2.75. Well, 50%, when you do the math, that turns out to be about 3 sales.
You can totally do principal.
Okay.
We're gonna,
Right.
Okay.
it's not even an option, we're gonna just do it.
We're going to hit at least 3.
Well, my board says 89, but that's Dwayne sold 89 and we're just gonna go with 3.
All right. My first year I did 10.
How much commission is 89 with this?
His is going to be different because he's looking at everything from a $500,000 house to he's got multi-million-dollar
Yeah,
commercial.
but just a basic house, just his first year, 50-50 split. With this, with 89.
Yeah. So let's go. Oh, you know what? No matter how many times I hit the calendar button, it will not work as a calculator. 626,000 times 0.0275. So that gives you your average gross commission income is $17,215. So if he did that 89 times, that's $1,532,135. So even if you're on a 50-50 split, that, not divide, genius, no wonder that looked wrong. I'm like, wait a minute,
He had,
that's a mere $766,000 and some change.
that's his half,
Yeah, that's his typical.
and he had 2 dependents at that time, so. Can you imagine making that much money in a year?
I can imagine it.
I would definitely have a condo in Hawaii as well.
My top year before I moved from primarily production to primarily instruction,
Yeah,
I did close 26 deals. My GCI was over 160,000. I earned more than I ever had as a teacher, obviously. I maxed it as a teacher at 63,000.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed the Realtor 500 by about 2 closings. I didn't feel that bad about it because that year I helped 3 other agents who were new hit the goal.
hit the 500 thing,
They hit the 500.
and you didn't? Oh, dang it.
Remember, my
I know,
why?
I know.
Yeah, the first time it happened, I was a little bummed, but my why is, I told Marty, I said, I'm starting to understand how a minor league baseball coach feels. I can name 5 agents right now that all made the top 500 last year, who I was involved in their first couple of years as an agent.
Yeah.
And then the student turned around and became the master, and they kicked my butt, and I'm okay with that
Yeah.
So
because that's not what motivated me.
Yeah,
My wife wishes it is.
if I was your wife, I would wish that too.
If you were my wife, I would probably be working on it harder.
Because I would be meaner.
Yeah.
My wife is used to being married to a poor teacher, okay? $63,000 plus benefits was my maximum pay as a teacher. And that was at 18 years in the classroom with a master's degree and 40 additional credit hours. I was almost to a second master's degree in history.
That's crazy, man.
$63,000. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
So-
thank you so much.
If you're looking to walk home with 50,000, I remember you got to pay taxes and everything out of that.
Yeah.
So if you want to really have 50,000, you better add one more. to cover your taxes.
Okay,
4.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're halfway through the year, so 4, because my goal was 100,000, so, and we're a little more than halfway through the year now, so 4.
okay. Now, how are you gonna keep that in front of yourself all the time? You said Dwayne's got his chart in there with his 89 on there.
So when I made my vision board, I put.
Your vision board.
Because I was gonna put less than Dwayne did. Come on now.
Dwayne is what's known as a statistical anomaly. He's the outlier. He skewed the curve.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, for every Dwayne, there were 100 agents who dropped out at the end of the year.
Yeah,
By the way, the average new agent does less than 1 deal their first year.
really?
So how many deals roughly do you think it takes to get to the top 500 for this year?
The closest I got, I did 26 deals and I was off by about 2 closings.
Oh,
But the market's also shifted. A lot of people are dropping out now. It's work.
Yeah.
80% of the business is done by 20% of the agents. It's the way it is in most career choices. And of that 80%, a significant portion of that are done by the top 5%. They're the Dwayne. And one of our agents who got that had her first multi-million-dollar home sale. So, I was working with VA buyers in the 4 to 500 range. Well, it takes me 3 of those to make up for her $1.5 million house.
yeah.
So keep that in mind. So you think you can get 4? Not a think, you're committed to get 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
If we don't get 4, we're gonna buy 4.
Yeah.
okay.
That's fine.
What are you going to do to get to that 4? I'm gonna hit this part just briefly. Part of your commission rate is that there's a cap. Once you get to a certain amount of commission paid to the brokerage, then you've capped out how much that goes to the brokerage, and then you're on a flat fee.
Oh, even on this plan?
Depends what plan you're on.
Well, I mean, even on the 50/50 plan?
I think there is, but it's like 20 transactions to get there.
So I think it's 10 transactions.
10 transactions, you can move off to 50/50 if you want to choose to.
Somebody, actually Marty did say something to me about 17,000. What is 17,000?
So I'm on the next step up in the 80/20 split, 16,000 is the cap. When the split that the brokerage takes hits 16,000, then I just go look for as Maverick. So on my daily planner, it shows I have $89,000 GCI. That's 150 GCI is my goal. I've got 89,000 GCI. So I'm 61,000 short of my goal. But I've paid 14,000 toward cap, and the cap total is 16. So if I go one more closing, I've hit that cap, and then I go up, I get a higher commission split. So I'm really pushing to get that one more, because that resets not at the beginning of the year, but on your anniversary when you join the brokerage. So my anniversary is in November. So I've got between now and November to hit that 150, and then I start my count again. Okay. If you want to know what your individual cap, where you're at on your cap, Michael keeps a spreadsheet of that. And I tried putting it in here, but unfortunately it just didn't show up really well. So I had it up just a minute ago. There it is. It looks like this. And you look over here on the far end, you'll see, oops. Split to Prax is currently a total of 14,142. When that goes above 16,000, then your split changes. Depending on which plan you're on, whatever
I think
the
there
cap
is
amount is.
something on the performance plan too, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah. So that's something if you as you start getting deals closed, ask Michael. He has no problem sharing this with you as an individual so you can see that. And if it's okay with you, with me, so I can see where you're at, helping you with production. It also kind of helps you see where you're looking at. Remember we said 626,000 is the average price of the home? Yeah, well, let's look at my volume. 445, 580, 426, 450, 335, 520.
Yeah,
I didn't sell any $626,000 houses.
I don't know where you found one for 335.
That was my son's condo. 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom, 2 bath condo in Harriman.
Oh, 'cause it's an animal.
They actually bought it 3 years ago and walked away with over $50,000 in equity in that short amount of time. Insane. So so when we talk about the volume for that top 500, that's what they're going to look at there is the volume of the sales price of the home. Okay, I know Craig has closed individual deals for more than that.
We don't average like the sales price versus the number of transactions. It's just straight
up dollar value. If you sold the most expensive home and listed it 40 some odd million, you could wipe out most people. But it's probably going to take you all year to get through that one transaction, and you'll get one hell of a check. And the IRS will be so happy. You know, Greg just talked about, he just closed the one, was it 5.4 million? One deal. Okay. It's a commercial deal. It's a whole different realm. So it's a lot of it has to do with the way you specialize. Okay. Yeah. So my wife keeps asking, why are you doing those? So here's where the rubber hits the road, and this is what we're going to spend the rest of this morning on. And then we're going to continue with some other steps tomorrow. We're going to spend the next 2 days on this. Steps in contract to closing. Now we're going to get into what are called measurable actions or KPIs, key performance indicators. These you can track on the expert roadmap we're going to show you. And the easiest way to track it is just make sure you're using follow-up boss, because you can go back and look at it. Okay. You need to set a daily goal of how many contacts you're going to make. These are some examples of ways to make contacts: emails, phone calls, door knocks, social media. Okay. What are you going to do each day to contact new people or reestablish contact with somebody who disappeared? How many emails are you going to send out? Because the daily goal is how many you plan on sending. Reached out is how many you actually sent. Connected, how many actually responded back or connected in some way. Okay. I could easily set a goal of sending out 1,000 emails a day. I have enough names in my database. If I hit send all, it goes out to almost 1,100 names. And then what? Using the follow-up boss tool, I go into the admin on about that template and can look at how many were sent, what percentage, how many were opened, and what percentage of opens that or my open rate is. They were talking earlier today about know, like, and trust and sending out mailers. What happens most of the time when you get junk mail in your mailbox?
Straight to the garbage.
My recycle bin is between my mailbox and my front door. Right. By the way, my dad worked for bulk mail entry unit, business class, what we call junk mail. We were not allowed to do that at home. We just threw away dad's life work.
Yeah.
Those things have a less than 1% return rate. You've got to send 1,000 of them to get anywhere. Okay. Your email may actually have a higher return rate because they keep seeing you on a regular basis. You can also check the click rate if there's any kind of link on it, how many times that link got opened. Phone calls. How many people are you going to reach out to and call each day? How many did you call and how many did you connect with? This is the one for me that sometimes is the hard. I'll try to, when I try to be really good about measuring it, you'll have that day when you're like, woohoo, I made 20 calls. We're like, way to go. One person answered the phone. Ouch. Right? Because the next day, I only made 6 calls. My goal was 20 calls. How'd you do? Well, I only made 6, but 2 of them I got into a 20-minute conversation with. What really matters on that?
Those 20-minute conversations.
Yep. Because then you want to look at how many appointments did you set? How many did you meet? Now, when you're setting appointments, you want to keep track of how many appointments is the first time you're meeting with somebody face to face? Or is it a subsequent meeting? Like if you're showing houses, and this is try 6 or 7 or 8 showing houses and they haven't committed yet, then let's sit down and we'll role play how to get them to commit. Are you spending good time with them or are they just having a good time? I have one name who will show up on Follow Up Boss every couple of days. So-and-so is looking at properties again. I've called her. She's a professional tire kicker. She's not interested. Fine, I'll let you keep looking at it. But if I'm short on time and it's a choice between Follow Up Boss telling me you just looked at a house and somebody else.
Do you think that is completely accurate?
On,
So when I get an email from Follow Up Boss.
Yeah.
Saying, you do?
the whether or not they looked at the house?
So, but it says that my Darren lead, my guy,
Yeah.
Darren Linwood, it says that he looked at a house in Saratoga Springs 4 times.
Mhm.
You think he really did?
It tracks how many times he reopens that same property.
It's
But it
accurate.
said that my first guy looked at a house in Saratoga Springs 4 times too. You think he really did? It can't really tell you if they did or didn't.
Only if they left it and went back to it and left it, if they left it on the screen, they don't know how many, they don't know how many times they looked at that tab. But sometimes people will go back and look at, like, you see the house, but your husband's not home yet, and he gets home, you're like, hey, check
Well,
this one
I mean,
out.
Yeah, I understand that part, but I was just like, is Follow Up Boss just telling me that he looked at those? He really did. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And if they favorite it, it will mark it, and they can do a property inquiry through it.
I just don't know why he would be looking at a house in Saratoga Springs when he wants to live in Nephi. He has to move to Salem. So now he's looking at a house in Saratoga Springs 4 times. I mean, okay, fair enough. I just really didn't know if that was real.
Remember the phrase, buyers are liars?
Liars, yeah.
Yeah, it's not so much that they're lying, it's just that he hasn't solidified in his own mind what he's looking for. So this is a great opportunity to call and say, hey, I just noticed. And this is, again, this is on your daily goals? Did you reach out to him by, well, I tried to call, I didn't get a hold of him, so I sent him a text message and I sent him an email, and I tried to call him again. But all of them are the same conversation. I noticed you looked at this at the house on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah.
What is it about this house that got your attention?
How about what the hell are you doing? I thought you had to.
It's white and has great security, right?
Well, some-
Yeah.
He's in the West Wing and
It has its own bowling alley and movie theater. But you're right. So you said Salem, but I noticed you looked in Saratoga Springs.
3 times.
Okay.
It's not in Salem 3 times.
No, why did you look Salem, or excuse me, Saratoga Springs? Because if it's the far end of Saratoga Springs, it could be shorter driving around the south end of the lake to Salem. They're going, then back up and around. If he's almost to Erda. But
That's not even the issue. The issue is his in-laws live in Salem and he needs their help with his kids. So.
why are we looking Saratoga Springs?
Exactly. You didn't want to
there
move.
was somebody caught it.
Yeah.
There's some cognitive dissonance here. So that's what I like. It's good to use phrases like help me understand
Yeah.
what. Not
I will.
because that way, because he may not understand why he looked at those. Help me understand what it is about these.
I really thought it was just wrong. I really thought it was just sending me.
No, it's really sending you. He looked at this thing 4 different times.
I'm gonna be. I'd wait on selling my house in Saratoga Springs, but
Saratoga's probably close to that 626 average.
no doubt.
But that's why having that data in front of you is useful. So when you make that contact, be looking at what their activity was.
Fair enough.
When you get that notification, when you respond back, respond about the specific property.
I did see like he sent me a voicemail though.
Okay, I'm having trouble with that, with playing the voicemail back. I don't know
Okay.
what's going on with that.
I don't know if he really sent me one or if it's just them telling me again that he looked at those. Cause there's not, so it's a Google Voice
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing there.
Mine did that recently with a call I received as well, and it said they left voicemail, but when I tried to play it back, nothing happened. So we're trying to track down what's happening with that. It'd be nice if they could.
Yeah, when I go in there and click on it, it just says that he viewed this place in, oh, now he's viewed it 6 times in Saratoga Springs.
Maybe it's time to set up a showing.
But he has viewed a place in Salem 4 times now
Okay.
and some in Nephi.
So right now he's in that all over the place mode. Okay. The other steps that we can measure. Buyer documents signed. What's your goal? Now, you can set we'll usually say set a monthly goal, then a weekly goal, and then a daily goal. How many do I want this month? Well, that breaks down to how many do I need each week? Okay, now that means each day I need 2. Typical conversion rate's about 1 to 5. You take 5 contacts before somebody says something. And then it takes 5 new contacts to get one of them to sign the buyer broker or agency agreement. So you've got to have 5 people you talk to. You've got to talk to 5 people to get to 1 person. Well, that's 25 new people you got to talk to weed it down to the 5 that are going to go somewhere to have one of them say yes. Okay. But it can be overwhelming to go, oh my gosh, I have to talk to 25 people. I don't even like 25 people. Some days I don't like anybody, right?
Although this lady that I'm going to show properties to, she's finding out for sure how much she qualifies for first, but
Yeah.
the reason that she even called me and her husband knows a real estate agent is because of videos on Facebook.
And then that's why we keep doing that. We had, at one time we had an ISA who she called this one contact about the same voice messages over and over and over. And the lady finally called back after 30 plus contacts. It was just nice to actually hear your voice. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get a hold of you. I just heard your voice so many times on my answering machine, but I just feel like I know you. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a referral that I need to call back because she finally heard my voice. She was in Europe on vacation. Now, but you heard your voice. I'm going to be talk to a friend of mine. We're going to be creating a whole bunch of videos about the VA process because I got a huge list of old VA referrals. All right, here's what the process is like. Just keep throwing your face in front of them. That's the know, like, and trust. Do they recognize you? Okay, text messaging, a lot of, anybody 20 to 40 uses text messaging. That's great. Did you know that in the follow-up box, you can add attachments to your text messages? They're limited in size.
How small do you think it is? Like if I did like a little video?
I haven't pushed the limit yet. Mostly because I don't have enough videos prepared yet, but just like a 5 to 10 second video.
Okay.
And I was just introduced to Chat GPT, and you can put in there on the prompt, write a 5-second script on hello, my name is. Make it casual business. I've got it doing 15 to 30 second video scripts because the friend's coming tomorrow said, here's the prompt I've learned to use. Cranking them out. Okay. How many buyer offers have you written? If you're writing this offers over and over and over and over with the same client, what do they need to learn? Or make a decision that makes sense. If they're lowballing every single offer. Marty used the phrase, predict the future for them. I can't guarantee that offering them $40,000 less than asking, plus $10,000 in closing costs is gonna kill the deal. But my experience has been that's too much of a difference between what the seller's anticipating selling the property for and what you're offering. Yeah, we can start the conversation, but the conversation may just start with no. And they may not want to talk to you anymore. But I saw on YouTube, or my uncle said, or has your uncle done this hundreds of times?
The thing is just like that 2-bedroom house that I showed in Springville, it has to be overpriced, $384,000. I mean, it is overpriced, so it's not gonna appraise for that. So, but that's the thing, and I have a lady who's thinking that she would probably wanna offer $350, and I would put that offer in, but they're probably not going to accept it, but it is very much overpriced.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I guess there's a line there,
Well, and again, you help them predict the future.
yeah,
How long has this home been on the market?
35 days.
Has the seller made any price adjustments yet? So seller has an unrealistic expectation on the home, and it may take a low appraisal to shock the seller into realizing that 350 really was the price we should have been at.
Yeah.
But that means is your buyer ready to pay for an inspection and an appraisal how risk averse are they? Are they willing to take the risk that they're gonna spend $600 on an inspection and $400 to $500 on an appraisal and have it potentially come in so dramatically low that the seller might not know what to do next?
Yeah.
Prepare them for the future. We may have to put $1,000 into this for them to walk away. Are you ready for that yet? Or are you willing to wait another couple weeks and watch them get beat up a little bit more? Okay. Because that's an important part of it, getting to that next step of how many buyer offers did you get accepted? If you need 4 closings between now and the end of the year, we need to get a buyer offer accepted every month. Because 1 in 4, something happens along the way. So if we only get 4 under contract, you could lose 1. We get 6 under contract, you can lose 1 and you're still ahead. Okay, seller listing documents signed. And then sellers, we start looking at how many showings did you have? How many offers did you receive? We can also look on List Track how many people viewed the home. Sarah's listing that went live yesterday, 80 viewings so far on the MLS.
Oh, it'll tell you how many people see it? Oh,
How many times it's been viewed? The IDX feed data, so Zillow and Truly is about 2 days behind, but it tracks those as well. Sarah's a little panicky because it's been on market 1 day. They haven't got any offers yet. It said it's been viewed 80 times. But 80 people looking at it and nobody going to see it.
Can we see that same information?
Yep.
We don't want to-
No, in fact, I'm gonna go ahead and tomorrow, what we'll do is we're gonna go through this expert roadmap. This is our data tracking. So let me exit that. I'm gonna go ahead and
She's trying to watch all the things, she's gonna turn out here, and I hope she don't want for that. Because